I woke at nearly 3 a.m. to get ready for the 2.5-hour drive to the White Mountains. Trying to be a bit stealthy to not wake Andrea, I managed to gather up all my things, pack up the car, and hit the road. With the typical Boston traffic subsiding, the roads are actually nice to drive this early in the morning. I passed under the Zachem, one of the newer and unique bridges in Boston built in 2003. At the time, it was part of the largest highway construction project ever completed in the US. On the way, I stopped to grab some gas. A short while later, I was surprised at the thickening fog, which ended up turning into a fine mist. I was really hoping this wasn't going to turn into another rainy day hike. There was no rain in the forecast, but of course, the weather in the Whites is nothing short of being unpredictable. Navigating through the windy roads, I found the turn to the unpaved road that would lead me to the trailhead. 1.3 miles on this. Because there's basically no lot here at this trailhead, one side of the road is actually dedicated to parking. Luckily, this early, parking really wasn't an issue for me, and I could get pretty close to where the actual trail started. At the beginning, the trail actually split, with handicap access going to the left. However, you can go either way. I passed by the Moosilauke Raven Lodge, which loomed over the meadow. Eventually, I followed the signs to the start of the trail. From here I was going to take the Gorge Brook Trail up to the top of Moosilauke. Before heading back down on Carriage Road Trail, I would make a left on the Snapper Trail, and this would eventually lead me back to the Gorge Brook Trail again to finish the hike down. Okay, so far it's been like this, pretty much up the hill. But now I'm going to go check out this little offshoot here. See what this little river is like. Really beautiful. What's up, guys? Mike here with another hiking video. This is a little bit of a special one for me just because this is number 12 on the list. Once I get this, I will officially be a quarter of the way done with the New Hampshire 4,048 footers. Well, I feel like that's an accomplishment. Supposedly it's one of the easier ones, but I feel like it's just a steady grade up the hill. You get to the mountain ridge, and then it's steady climb back down. At least that's what it seems to be, and so far, it looks like that's the case. So I don't know how many views there will be. I think the top of Moosilauke is pretty bare, which is nice. Alright guys, well, I'll see you on the trail. It wasn't long until I hit the first of two bridge crossings. Being that this trail was along the brook, there were plenty of mushrooms visible. Okay, we are coming up on the junction right now. As I was walking, this inchworm dangling in the wind caught my eye. I could only hope that he was actually having a good time up there. So there were a couple cars at the parking lot. Not many, like 3 or 4 maybe. A couple people just passed me. Overall though, it hasn't been very busy, which I'm kind of surprised. But that being said, the weather's not what I expected it to be. It was supposed to be sunny in the morning and then rain tonight, which is another reason why I kind of got up so early to get here. So I'm really hoping that there's a little bit of a view, because apparently the view at Moosilauke is supposed to be like one of the great views of the White Mountains, and I'm hoping I get to see that. So basically this part of the trail has been pretty much like that since I made the turn to go on this Gorge Brook trail. Looks like we have another bridge crossing. Okay, I think this is where the steep stuff starts, judging by those nice little steps over there. Here the mist started to get a bit thicker, which gave off a very unique feeling to the surrounding scenery. You know, so far this fogginess has reminded me a lot of when Andrea and I first backpacked in the Catskills and we went to Slide Mountain in Cornell. This reminds me of that a lot. I think, oh, there's actually a trail junction up here. So let's see what that says. Oh, and there's a plaque. Alright. Here's the trail junction. Last sure water. So that basically means if you were backpacking this, get your water here, because otherwise you don't know if you're getting it. And I'm all too familiar with that. But right now we've got this plaque right here. I'm going to read it for you real quick. Ross McKinney Forest. In memory of Ross McKinney, woodsman, teacher, friend, builder of cabins, and builder of men. In May 1972, the Dartmouth College trustee approved this designation of the Gorge Brook watershed as being a fitting memorial to Ross, whose contribution to Dartmouth out of doors will live forever. Now we know who the forest is named after. Pretty cool. In typical New England fashion, the rocks continued on the path up. I happened to look down and saw this little mushroom cluster. Okay, we got through some of the steep stuff. Definitely got a little steep there. But we're almost to the first viewpoint. A couple people passed me. Now that we're not walking by the brook anymore, it's a lot quieter. Actually, when it first happened with the mist and everything, it actually seemed very eerily quiet. It's almost, I think, 9 o'clock now, so the sun is definitely out. I was hoping when it came out it would get rid of all this mistiness, but I don't think that's going to happen. Alright, according to all trails, we are nearing the first view. I'm sure it's a good view, just not when there's fog. Well, that would have been the view, but it's not. Might as well keep going. I don't know if you guys could hear that, but I'm fairly certain that is rain. I did bring a raincoat with me this time, even though the weather said it wasn't going to. We just passed the first viewpoint of Moosilauke, and unfortunately there was none for me. But we're carrying on. Lucky for me though, this time, the rain actually managed to hold itself off. Even though the trail wasn't super steep, I still needed a break. So I decided to grab a quick drink of water, and then I happened to see 2 mushrooms growing in the undergrowth, along with a cigarette, which I thought was pretty interesting. I used some makeshift tongs and actually grabbed the cigarette butt and threw it in a Ziploc bag, so I could dispose of it when I get back to the trailhead. The tall trees that were obscuring the sky actually started to subside, although it didn't really leave me with much other than overcast, misty views. It's definitely not the hardest hike I've been on. Nothing like Tuckerman's Ravine in Mount Washington. But it's still not a cakewalk. Soon the tree line started to lift, indicating that I was coming closer to the mountaintop. At this point I was basically on the mountain ridge. A lot of the ascending actually stopped, and every step was taking me that much closer to the summit. I came across another sign indicating the dangers to the habitat if you wandered off trail in the alpine zone. This is a helpful reminder because when you're hiking for so long being socked in between the trees, it's very tempting to go off trail and explore the open terrain. The thick grass blowing in the wind, moisture coalescing on the tips, the dense fog really gave this an unearthly feel. The wind really started to pick up here, especially since the trees were no longer blocking it. It might look cold, but I actually enjoyed the refreshing breeze. Finally, I had reached the top of Mount Moosilauke. Unfortunately though, there was no view to be had. The sun at the summit actually gave you a tantalizing view of what you might have been able to see had it been a clear day. I could only imagine what this would look like with clear blue skies. There's definitely some interesting history here at the top of Mount Moosilauke. There used to be a building called the Summit Camp, which was operated by Dartmouth College. It unfortunately burned down because of a lightning strike back in 1935. Along with that, there was also an old lodge up here, started by none other than Ross McKenney. It was originally a ski lodge and actually hosted some of the nation's earliest competitive skiing, at least according to Wikipedia. However, as we know, the winters in the White Mountains can be quite harsh. Eventually fell into disrepair around the 1950s, where it got a second breath of life from Al Merrill. Unfortunately though, it still ended up getting torn down back in September 2016, before the new lodge was actually built down at the base of the mountain. I sat here for a little bit, enjoyed the quote-unquote view that I had, before I continued on back down the mountain. This part of the Carriage Road Trail is actually part of the AT as well, and I met plenty of other backpackers. With nearly 1,800 plus miles done on their journey, I know they were looking forward to seeing Katahdin at the end. The sun was trying to peek out a little bit. You can tell it's a little bit brighter now, but unfortunately it never really broke through. So nothing I could do about that. Probably got about like 2.5 miles left, I'd say, to get to the car, and then off to find food. It's actually been a fun hike. I think the one guy was up there, I was talking to him, basically said that, you know, it's beautiful in a different way. I also saw this very interesting mushroom, which I believe is reindeer lichen. This part of the trail was absolutely beautiful with all the moss-laden trees on either side of you. I continued on to hit up South Peak. Although not one of the 4,000 footers, I figured I might as well. And I was actually really glad that I did. Here it is, right here. Alright. Let's try to make sense of these directions, because there's a lot going on here. I gotta see which way I'm going. Okay, so I looked at the map. I am definitely not going on the Glencliff Trail because that takes me away. I don't want to go on that. I actually want to go back on this trail, which is the Carriage Road. Yeah, there's a dog. It just showed up too. How about that? But I'm going to go hit up the South Peak real quick and then come back. And then I think the owners of this guy's going to come up pretty soon. Okay, this is the way to South Peak. I'm just going to check that out real quick. That was a little bit of a scramble. Actually, wait a minute. There's like a little break in the clouds right there. So much for that. the size of these mushrooms. Oh. Wow. So that's my hand, just for reference. They're pretty big. Okay, well, this is South Peak. We're in the alpine zone again. This must be the peak right here. And unlike Moosilauke, there's nobody here. I think it's a good time to stop and take a drink. I can only imagine what this looks like when there's actually no clouds around it. This type of atmosphere gives you a chance to create something very unique as compared to when it's like nice and sunny and bright and out and blue skies and everything like that. If you guys do like these types of videos, let me know. Drop a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. That really helps me out, really helps incentivize me to get out and create more of these types of videos. I just want to say, like, I appreciate your guys' support, like, without a doubt. So I think I'm going to get back and hop on the trail here. Of course, as soon as I say there was no view, I ended up getting a little bit of a view back there. Nothing crazy, but I think I'm going to switch lenses and try to grab something of this really quick. I set up my camera for a nice time lapse, but unfortunately the fog came back. After sticking around here for maybe 20 minutes or half an hour, I decided to head back, and I got to that junction that I was at previously. With the uncooperative weather, today's hike challenged what most would consider the apex of any great hike: the view. Going further and further forced me to change my mind on what I would actually consider beauty in nature. Blue skies and sun, while amazing, are not always a guarantee, and in those moments surrounded by gray skies and misty rain, we can hopefully open up our minds and our eyes to see what other forms of beauty Mother Nature has for us to enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please do me a favor, give it a like, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, and as always, thank you for watching. You can see I'm following the river again, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna follow this back to the car. This section you definitely have already all seen, and really nothing new to report on that. So I'm gonna put the camera away. I'll see you guys at the car. Peace. All right, and just like that, we are back at the car, sort of. We're back at the trailhead, the lodge. Man, you put the cap on for just like a second and it fogs over. Although this gives it like a kind of cool effect, not gonna lie. And I can appreciate that. It looks like somebody wrote down 45 in the rocks here. I think, anyway. We are in New Hampshire. It's Trump land, after all.